for in business, the person that carries the lease has all the power. Well, in this market that we're in right now, who has all the power, sellers or buyers? Sellers. So you want to concentrate and focus your energy on who has the power. And that's just really getting listings, because if you do a good job securing and getting a listing, we just had a slide here that a majority of our agents that had listings last month, guess what? Surprisingly, they're all under contract. Why? Because sellers have the powers. They carry the lease right now. If your buyer doesn't want to pay their price, there's 3, 4, 5 other buyers, probably 10 other buyers that will. So today we're going to focus on a short period of time, how to really just focus your energy on the sellers. And no one's taken a lot more listing appointments than I know of in this market and does a great job relaying that information and showing your value than this guy right here. Let's give Willie Miranda a welcome back to the Capital District.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming. Hey, I want to give you guys a round of applause today because you guys showed up there today. So I want a round of applause to you guys. All right? And the reason why I say that, and I was saying this earlier in the meeting, is that I was talking to a lot of agents, and we sent out emails and everything else, and I had a lot of agents say, well, I went to that one last year, or I already know that type of stuff, or, yeah, I went to one of those classes. And I was telling people that over the first 20 years of my career, I was with Craig Proctor, was a coaching organization. And I went to 3 to 6 conferences every year. It's the same slides, and if you guys know who Craig Proctor is, the book is the same manual that it was 20 years ago, right? It was just that type of thing. But the content always works, right? And every time I went, I picked up something new. So to come to these conferences and to come to these type of boot camps and be here to learn and to grow your business, that's kudos to you guys, because now I know that you guys are serious about taking your business to the next level and really controlling and getting more getting more listings for your business. And that's what it's really all about. We're in a very aggressive seller's market right now. And would you guys rather be on the selling side or be on the buyer end, right? Let's face it. And think about leveraging your time, right? That's one of the things that I'm going to talk about here in a second with leveraging your time. But if you're working with 10 buyers right now that are actively looking to buy, right? And if you guys are on Zoom, if you could just mute your mics, that'd be great. But if you're working with 10 active buyers versus 10 listings, where are you going to leverage your time better? Listings, right? I mean, listings, you go out to the appointment, you do your presentation, you create the value, you do the listing paperwork. But then after that, you're leveraging your time with having other agents show your properties. You're going to market it to other agents and market it to your buyers. But other agents are going to do all the work for you, right? And bring that buyer in. So you can leverage your time way better. And you can do it remotely too. I know a lot of times I've seen agents, especially over the winter months, where they're down in Florida or down in North Carolina and they're doing the business because they're leveraging their listing opportunities. They're not running around with buyers, right? You just can't do that with buyers. So not to say that working with buyers is a bad thing. Well, we have to do that to survive and build our businesses. But if you're focusing on listings, you get what you focus on, right? And you get what you ask for. So our agenda today, I want to go over a little bit about why listings. I pulled a little document for you guys, 32 different ways to get listings. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just wanted to give you guys some value and to give you something to walk away with that you can work on as you think about growing your listing inventory. And I want to also start off by the outcomes here as well. I was talking earlier about the difference between leading by abundance and leading by scarcity. And we've always led by abundance, meaning I give out as much value as I can. I don't care what company you're with. I don't care, what state you're in, anything. I've always been giving out anything that I get because that's where I learned it from. I didn't create all this stuff. This is stuff that I learned at different conferences, different mastermind groups that I spent. Trish and I added up over $1 million over 20 years of getting on flights and going to mastermind conferences and everything else just to bring it to our agents here and share it with them and share it with other agents in the Capital District. So I lead by abundance. That's my leadership style. There's other leaders that are out there that lead by a scarcity mentality, which is basically we want to keep it that's sacred and we don't want to share it with everyone, even though they got it from somewhere else. But they feel they don't want to share it because it was going to steal their secrets. And I remember writing a book. If you guys remember the book I wrote in 2015, How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in the Real Estate Business. You guys ever see that title? It's on. You can go to Amazon and pick it on there. And basically, I gave out how to, time management. I went through financial management on how to do your finances. I did I went over working with buyers, working with sellers, listing presentations, contract to close, working by referral. All this stuff is in that book. And I wrote this about how we did it because when I'm coaching people, it's just easier for me to say, hey, read that book and then let's start working together. And that's why I did the book originally. And then in that same time period, there was a local broker, and I won't say his name, that also wrote a book. And we get along great and always kind of joke with each other. But he wrote a book too, so we shared. He signed a copy, sent it to me. I signed a copy, sent it to him. And we read it, and about a month later, he reached out to me and he says, hey, I got a question for you. He goes, I read your book, I thought it was pretty good, but why are you giving out all your stuff that you do? You got postcards, examples, you got all these different things that you do for marketing. And I said, because I lead by, by example and lead with abundance. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't share all that stuff. He said, what do you think about my book? And I said, well, I'll be honest with you, and I'm not going to get into all the details, but it was only about me type of stuff, right? It wasn't really giving anything out. It was just talking about the history of that agent and all the different agents that screwed him over and weren't nice to him and all this other stuff in the book. And it was just like totally night and day, right? But again, that's the difference between abundance and scarcity. 3 outcomes out of these listing boot camps, because I also had some agents that we reached out to that really wanted to be here, but they felt funny because they're like, well, I don't want my broker to get upset, or they think it's a recruiting event. 3 things happen here, and I've been doing this now for 6 years straight. These are the 3 outcomes that I look for. Number 1, we get to know each other. You guys get to know other agents here at Miranda. We get to know you, especially in tough times right now when we're sitting across the table with 10 multiple offers in front of us. It's nice to know the other agents, right, Marissa? Like, hey, I met that person at this event. I met that person at that event. Hey, I was in a training and they were here. So it'd be really great exposure for us from Miranda's side that you guys see the type of training that we do. That's number 1. Number 2 is you actually take something and put some of the stuff and execute on some of the stuff that you learn here. Use a postcard, use a flyer, use a weekly email that you want to send out, or come away with something that you can actually execute on, even if it's just one thing. Have success with it, and just let us know. Report it to me. I love that, right? I'm naturally a coach, and I love to see other people win and succeed, and that's my vision. And then the third piece is that we lead by example as well. I tell you guys all the time, to get clients, you have to educate to attract, right? Educate to attract. We do the same thing. In order to grow our company and to meet good agents, we want to educate to attract, meaning like either you're going to learn about us, you're going to be able to use something and implement it. And number 3 is you might be somewhere where you're like, you know what? I feel like I'm at a level where I hit a ceiling. I'm not really growing. I really love the leads and the support and the training and the coaching that you guys do. Can we talk more about Miranda Real Estate Group? And I said, that's fine. Come on over. We'll talk about it. It's confidential. We leave it at that. But that's it. This is not a recruiting event, but this is a way for me to get back, for you guys to learn more about Miranda Real Estate Group. And again, if you ever want the opportunity to talk, I hate to go on Facebook tomorrow, right, Marissa? I always say that to Marissa, like, I hate to go on Facebook, and I think I told you this when you were somewhere else, and you went somewhere else without us having a conversation first. And if you go somewhere else, that's fine, but at least you know what we have. And it was a great conversation that we had, and as a result of it, I know your business is probably going to triple this year, what you're doing, right? Yeah, you're crushing it. So, but anyway, so that's enough with that, but I just wanted to give the outcomes with that, just so we get that elephant out of the room. We're going to go over some different 5 strategies. There's 32 of them that we showed you on that sheet, but I'm going to go over like some different recent examples that I've been doing down in Florida. Up here, I've had people say to me, well, Willie, that's easy for you. You know, you've been in business 24 years. You know, the Miranda name has been out there for a while. You do stuff on, we did our infomercial for 20 years as well, and everyone knows who you are, and that's just not true. But it's an excuse that a lot of agents have not to send this stuff out, or not to be able to do newsletters and postcards and the different things that we're going to talk about. So in Florida, no one knows me. No one knows Willie Miranda. Love it. No one knows Miranda Real Estate Group, because we're really not known for that down there. So I went ahead and tested some of these marketing pieces, just like I tested it with coaching members in Dallas and coaching members in Calgary, Canada. The same day I did in New Jersey, in different places I had success too. And I'm going to share that with you guys. And I'm going to share some of my results with you guys year to date so far and what that's transferred to. And then Brian's going to touch on the listing process. We're going to go over high level, our listing presentation, keep it high level. And then we're going to go over pricing, which I think a lot of people are still struggling with, and some of the different ways that we're being able to get our clients to price the homes right coming out of the gate, and not overpricing it, because in any market, it doesn't matter if you overprice, it's not going to sell. but also at a point where you're not going to lose listings because maybe your price is too low with a prospective seller. So we're going to talk about that as well. All of this we can do probably a 2-day event on. But we're going to cram it in 2 hours, so we're going to keep it high level for you. But know that in the Miranda Agency, you guys know that we have over 100 classes a year that we go a lot deeper on some of these pillars. All right, can you just click on that screen so I can do one? Okay, so why listings? I just talked about creates leverage, right? Creates leverage of time, generates buyer calls, signed calls. You're going to build online exposure, people are going to see out there. Creates market authority, right? When you control the inventory, you control that market. People like to see that. Gives you more time, ways to schedule your time and control your time. And it's going to build a more predictable business because you're pretty much guaranteed if you get a listing and your price is right, it's going to sell. Is that true? Right? So it's going to be a lot more predictable than if you're working with a buyer and they lose out on 2 or 3 homes and then just get frustrated and say, forget it. I'm just going to rent, or worse yet, I'm going to go with another agent because it must be you, the agent, why you can't get this deal done. Opportunity. Where do seller opportunities come from? We got relocation, divorces, downsizing, upsizing, deaths, job moves, retirement, finances. And there's a lot of agents out there that are just waiting for the market to come to them. But the best agents lead, and that's why you guys are in this room. You want to lead by example, and you want to be proactive to go out there and get these listings. You just don't want to wait for the business to come to you. Because if you do that, that's not a good business plan move at all. 32 ways to get listings. Again, we're in the middle of writing another book that hopefully will be coming out sometime early next year. And we're coming up with different ideas and going through a lot of our notes and a lot of our training. And we kind of just compile them, threw them into ChatGPT, and voila, we came up with this list. So you guys have that list in front of you, right? Again, just some different ways for you guys to do it. I'm not going to read through these, but there's enough ways for you to pick up listings. And if you try to do all of them, you're going to go crazy. So you want to pick one to start, and then once that's completed, move to the next. But if you want to really multitask, I'd say try 3 at a time, and then you don't want to go too much more than that until you fulfill it. But there's some really good ways there for building and getting listings. I always talk about the 5 pillars. When I'm sitting down with a new agent, when I'm sitting down with a coaching member, this is the first things I do because we're all in the same business. You guys know what that business is? Relationship business, close. Lead generation business. That's right, Lucy. We're all in a lead generation business, and every business is, right? I don't care if you're an accountant or an attorney. We're all in a lead generation business. We all want referrals, and we all want to generate leads. So when I'm meeting with someone and they're in a slump, or I'm meeting with a new agent and they want to get going, or I'm meeting with an experienced agent, they just don't know, what's the next level for them, we go over these 5 different pillars. And the first one being your COI, right? Your center of influence. Some people call it sphere of influence. That's the most important. That's going to be your best leads. That's going to be your referrals, your repeat business. So what are you guys doing on that? So we're going to talk about that. Farming. If you want listings, farming still works. Direct mail still works. When I hear people say, no, I tried that sucks, it never worked for me, and I'll get a little deeper with them, they sent out 1 postcard. They sent out 2 postcards. No one called them, and it sucks, right? And I'm here to tell you it doesn't. I'm going to show you that in a second. Expired listings. We don't have a ton of expires here. We do in Florida now. A lot of them are coming up there. But there's still some expires that are out there and withdrawals that you can go back, even the last 1 or 2 years, and go after that. We'll do something quick with that in case you guys want to look at that. Expired, also FSBOs are out there, which is not on that pillar, but we do look at that. Value offers, home valuation offers on people's homes. That's another good one that works very well. And then partners. A lot of you work with a lot of vendors that are out there, whether it be plumbers, roofers, contractors. These are people that should be in your database that you're reaching out to and letting them know that you want their business as well. You're referring to them, hey, I'd like referrals too, right? And for years, we always had vendor programs, and we would do happy hours with vendors that would come, and we had them up over 100 vendors that would come to these events, and it was great. So great that I stopped doing it. But now Christine Serafini picked it up. Now she's going to be doing one here. When are you doing that? In a couple of weeks? Tomorrow. Here we go. So Christine Serafini's doing it. I know there's other agents that have also done it on a smaller scale. And you start somewhere, but you definitely want to go deeper with your vendor partners, and get referrals from them. And you don't get them unless you ask. So client community events, different things that you can do to bring your clients together. We were just talking about in today's meeting, giving a shout out to a couple people doing client events. We do an annual pie event Tuesday before Thanksgiving. We do a pie event where people come to our office and pick up an apple or a pumpkin pie. Been doing it for years. This past year, 2025, we gave out almost 900 pies to people. Again, we've been doing it every year. My first year, I think we did 12, and I think that was at Terry Dobson. Remember, Terry? You and I went hand-delivered 12 pies each. We won't talk about the stories behind that, but there were some good stories that went there. Definitely call, guys, before you go. I'll just leave it at that. So we have pie events, Santa events, steward events with coffee, movie nights, breweries, food truck events, golf tournaments. We have one coming up on September 14th if you guys are golfers at the Mohawk Club, and it's going to be a great event. It's our 20th anniversary. We're looking for a big event, and we're looking for sponsors. We're looking for golfers to come on the 14th of September. And then a Can for a Cone event. This is something that I'll share with you guys where we actually get an ice cream truck, go to the neighborhood, go to a venue, and give out free ice creams. And we've done that for many years. I just did it in my neighborhood down in Florida. Great way to meet people. You know, they have a little block party. I got a flyer. I said, wow, this is great. Bring an appetizer. And I think last year Sherry brought tomato and mozzarella or something. And it was a great dish, but there was 4 other tomato and mozzarella dishes that were there as well. So I said, you know, next year, why don't we do the ice cream truck? So I asked the lady that runs it, and she goes, my God, no one's ever done that. That would be great. And brought the ice cream truck, right? So here you think about it. You see this big table with all these desserts and all this food out, and then there's a big ice cream truck. But that ice cream truck, we ended up giving out 111 ice cream cones and whatever else they sell on there, ice cream sandwiches and all that. And as a result of that, I ended up getting a listing from it, right? So Nikki Davies down in Florida did one too. She got 3 listings on her first ice cream event. So those work. You know, the different things like that you can do as a community event to get people together, to be the hub of that community, is how you're going to attract certain people to want to work with you. And obviously, you know, it's a good thing to do. This is the postcard that we sent out this past year. It was on January 22nd, 4:30 to 7. And again, I can get you guys copies of all the slides. If you want to, just send me an email. We'll get you guys a copy of these slides. But this is...
This was in Florida, not in January in California.
Yeah, this is Florida. And it was a nice day that day, but January is it was cold this past year in Florida. You know, it was like 50s and 60s in January. I know you guys were like 10 below over here. But again, just getting people to the neighborhood. Here's some different pictures. That's Christine Serafini had her at the movie theater. She had, I don't know, close to 150, 200 people that came to that event. That was a great event. Jen Whipple at Stewart's. There's a pie event. There's Lucy doing a Christmas event, Santa event. So you can have Santa come and take pictures with kids. You can do Easter Bunny. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we've done. And just kind of giving some examples on there of some of the different things that we've done. All right. Golf tournament. There's the ice cream truck again. All right, let's talk about direct mail. So remember I gave you guys a story about doing direct mail, sending stuff out in neighborhoods that are maybe places that you're starting off brand new. So in my neighborhood, can you guys just comment? I'm like hearing your conversations and it's throwing me off a little bit. I appreciate it. Thank you. So in my neighborhood down there, I said, I'm going to start doing this because I want to lead by example. I want to be relevant to the agents that I'm talking with and make sure that I'm giving you guys value and bringing it back to you. So again, no one knows me. No one knows our company. I said, all right, I'm going to start doing some different flyers and some different things in the neighborhood. So we did the ice cream event. That was one way to meet people. Then I sent out a newsletter to people every quarter, sending them a newsletter. So I did 3 newsletters last year at an ice cream event. No business. I'm sorry. I did one sale at the ice cream event. I told you it was a $1.4 million listing. So you can imagine how many ice cream cones I was able to pay with that, right? But we did that. It worked out great. So January, I sent out a newsletter. I'll show you an example of what that newsletter looks like. And then this was the second flyer that I sent out in February. When I sent this flyer out in February, I got 2 phone calls, and one was a lady she just cleaned out her mom's house. That's a $1.6 million listing. And she said, I got your flyer. I'm just ready to put it on the market. I'm interviewing some agents. Can you come take a look at it? I went over and looked at it. We hit it off right away and ended up listing it. We sold it in like 4 days, $1.6 million. And it was like over a $47,000 commission check. And this flyer that went out, by the way, cost me about $600. I think there's 550 homes that it went out to. So it was about $600. But on this flyer, as you see on there, it's talking about things that people want. We did a survey with a guy in a group, Craig McDonald. He did a survey out in Chicago, and it was, they surveyed 2,000 sellers, different sellers, and they wanted to know what the most important thing was for them was. And there was 3 things, and you guys want to make sure that you're aware of this. The first one that was most important to them is what their home is worth, right? It's probably their biggest asset. It's probably the biggest purchase they've ever made. And what their home is worth is so important to them. So that's number 1. Number 2, nosy neighbors. They want to know what the other neighbors are selling for, right? So they want to know what other properties are selling for. So if you see on there, you'll see top 5 closed sales in that neighborhood, in that area, right? They want to see that. So that's why I put that on there. If on the bottom of the left page, you'll see, looking to find out what your Old Cypress home is worth, call me or go to our website. They want to know what their home value is, right? That was the number 1. Number 2 is what their neighbors are. And then number 3, what are some of the local events that are going on? So in that flyer, I put on there our neighborhood updates, what was going on in the neighborhood, but I also talked about the ice cream event and the listing that we had just sold in that neighborhood. So that went out. But if you notice, there's a big testimonial there. When I sold that other property, the listing, I asked the seller, I go, would you mind giving a testimonial, a video testimonial? I'm updating my marketing information, and it really mean a lot to me if you could just share your experience on a video. And at first she's like, oh, I'm a little nervous to do it, but yeah, you know, you guys did such a great job, I don't mind doing it. So I came up with the 10 questions. I gave the 10 questions to my videographer. He went out to her home and shot this video. And if you guys, you could, you know, go to oldcypressseller.com to watch it on your own. But basically it's like a 3-minute clip of her talking about all the different things about how she loved working with myself and with Nikki in the transaction, and how she wouldn't pick any other agent but us, right? So when you could find someone that once you sell that first person in that neighborhood, this person, Gina, knows other people in that neighborhood. So she was like a celebrity. Like, she called me like a week later after this mailer went out. She goes, oh my God, everyone thinks like, I didn't know you got into real estate. Geez, you really did a great job on it. And she was just, you know, tickled pink about it. But my point on it is that we could say all we want about each other, right? We could say everything, how great we are. But when you have a third party recommending you, that's very powerful and very strong. So that flyer went out. Like I said, I got the 2 listings that came from that. I did an open house for that listing, which I haven't done an open house in like 10 years. But again, trying to stay relevant, and I want to, you know, get out there and kind of show you guys that I'm leading by example. I did the open house, and at the result of the open house, I ended up getting another buyer that was looking to maybe buy this house to renovate it, but then was thinking about new construction. We ended up selling that person a $2.8 million new construction. And I'm getting their 1.3 listing as well when they sell it. So that was already committed. And I wrote down some notes here. I was going to put it on a slide. So follow me on this. First flyer went out, 1.6 and an 860. And then I got the open house at 2.8. Then they're giving me the listing at 1.3. And then a $900,000 listing also from the ice cream event as well. And they came to visit us at the open house. I missed it. They went and bought a new construction without me. Shame on me, right? We didn't educate them enough on it. They didn't know. They're like, oh, Willie, we didn't know. We just went and bought one. But $2 million, by the way. I'm like, great. Do you have an agent to help you with your listing? They're like, no, we're going to call you, of course. I'm like, great. You know, so what are you going to do? Yell at them? But anyway, it's $900,000. But figuring that all out, it's $7.5 million for just under $200,000 of commissions. Right? And that's just on the one flyer. Now, does it happen all the time? Absolutely not. But my point is that if you stay consistent, right, don't do this unless you're going to commit to 12 months. Don't just send out 1 or 2 flyers and say, well, this doesn't work. You have to stay consistent with it. I got tons of stories as to how this does work if you stay consistent with it. This is a text that she sent to me. I just said to her, because long story short, we ended up negotiating. I ended up getting her an extra $30,000. 1,560 came in. 1,560 came in as the initial offer, cash offer within like 2 days. And I told her, I said, let me go back. And she was, no, let's just take it. I don't want to mess them. We're at the end of season. I don't want to blow this deal. I go, trust me, I've been doing it for a long time. I won't blow the deal. Just let me go back. I ended up getting another $30,000. So anyway, I thanked her for trusting me in it. And then she sent this to me. I really appreciate it. And my hunch to reach out to you after receiving the flyer, I thought we connected pretty well. And it was definitely the correct move, right? So that was a text from her, just a screenshot of that one sale. So that worked good. So the next month, I sent another flyer. Why work with us? You guys see the bullet points. I'm using Gina's testimonial as much as I can. That is going to go out every month until I get another one, right? And then I put on the top, evidence of success, sold by Willie in Old Cypress. So I had a 1.8, a 1.6 that we just sold, and then the other one under contract, the smaller one was pending. Again, call to action, looking to find out what your Old Cypress home is worth. Give us a call or go to this website. Very simple, no rocket science here, but here's what I'm saying. It has to be of value. It's got to be something of value. Finding out what their home is worth, finding out what other properties are sold for, what's going on in the community, testimonial. It's not just a just sold, right, or a just listed postcard that I see a lot of agents do. Those are garbage. They really are, and that's what people are doing. They're getting their mail over a garbage can, and that's just going away. But when they see something like this with data and information, a lot of them will keep it. Some will throw it away, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are going to keep it. And if you do this consistently, it will pay off. So this second flyer that I sent out, same thing, $600. I got 5 listing appointments from it, calls right away at the end of the season. One I went on, the guy was overpriced. I didn't take it. He didn't like my price. We didn't list it. So that went down the tubes. The other lady was a real estate agent already, retired. She's kind of kicking the tires around. Went to her house, looked at her house. We're actually looking for another house for when she finds a house to downsize to. She will list her property. Ronald, another one that came from it, called me. Hey, I saw you sent this flyer. It looks like you're the guy to go to in the neighborhood. We want to list our house. We're going to independent living. That's 1.3. And then Chris, his parents never came down this season, got my flyer, was in town, says, hey, can we meet? And he committed to us. We have contractors working on his house now to paint and clean. That's a 1.7. So all of this combined, $7.5 million plus the 4.6, over $10 million, over $310,000 of commissions on 3 flyers, really, because I did the newsletter and the 2 flyers here. Now, that's in Florida, right? So you're going to say, well, that's great, Willie, but we're in New York, right? The average sales price here is so much lower. So cut that by a third. Still over $100,000, right?
And they don't know you.
Yeah, and they don't know who I am. But it's the marketing that's going to work for you by giving them what they want and by showing them value in the marketing. This is something that Nikki and I did down there. I got to speed it up a little bit because I know we got to get into some other stuff. This direct mail piece showing about the neighborhood. We broke down 4 neighborhoods. I don't suggest doing that. Keep hyper focused on the one because a lot of them don't care about the other neighborhoods, right? They only care about their neighborhood. But again, these type of information flyers get you out there on the map and get you in front of people. Here's the newsletter. It's a little busy, but it's 3 pages. First page, this goes out every quarter. First page, it's what's up with Willie. I have some personal pictures in there so people connect with me. The pictures that are on there are with my wife and I at the block party, our Florida team training with our agents down there. We had a luncheon at my house with the team, so Sherry was cooking chicken. She loves that chicken, mozzarella and tomatoes. And then we went to an event out in Sarasota with the team as well. So I talked about that in here a little bit, talked about the market, what's going on with us. So people identify with that. I talked to them about market stats, what's going on in the marketplace, went over market stats. We went over our PI event, showing them about that with our clients. We talked about the top 5 sales in Old Cypress again, right? Here's a client testimonial. I like pictures on here, but we didn't have a picture for this person. Actually, that is Gina. That's the same one without the video. This is a book that we wrote, what every person needs to know about selling a home in Florida. I wrote a book. We have one here for New York that our agents use. You can come up with a PDF document too. You don't have to have a book. You can come up with anything nowadays with ChatGPT. They can put 11 reasons or 7 things to do to get top dollar in Capital District when selling your home. You can come up with a PDF and Chat could do it for you and just print it out and send it to them. It doesn't matter. Anything like this that gives them value, what they're looking for, because that's what people, again, value. If they're looking to put their house on the market, they don't think their house is ever going to sell. They don't think they have a great home. But now you're giving them advice on top things that you can do to upgrade your home. That's important. Call to action, you got to have this. Find out what your home is worth, right? Call me or text me. And then I've always done this for 20 years now. Sherry's always put a recipe in there. This happened to be tomato and mozzarella grilled chicken. There we go. So, you know, when we did our ice cream event, we had our moving truck following the ice cream truck, and we would go around the neighborhood. People would come up to me, hey, Willie, thanks. Hey, is that Sherry in the car? They already knew who she was. And they were going up to her, and she was here, she'll tell you, going up to her and saying, I love your crock pot recipe, or I love this dessert cookie thing, or Junior really loved this or that, right? So she thought she was Rachel Ray, right? But she loved it. But people really do like the recipe part, which I picked that up from a guy probably 12 years ago at a Dan Kennedy event. Put recipes in there, but not just recipes you get off TikTok or Instagram. Those suck, by the way, right? But family recipes are things that mean something to you, because in that recipe she also talks about, here's Julia's favorite dish, right? Our daughter. Or here's, Willie really loves this because his mom used to make it, or whatever. Those are the type of things that really hit home for a lot of people, because you're making it more personal. So they get to know you as not only for your character or who you are, but your competence as well of how much you know about the area. But this really connects people. And when we were at that ice cream event, Sherry said, this lady, she was just asking me how the kids are doing. She's like, did I ever meet her? I don't even know who this person is. And I'm like, she gets our newsletter. And in that one edition that we had sent out, we were talking about Julie, my daughter being in Charlotte, and the other one's in nursing school. So they were asking about that because she was a nurse, right? So they identify with those type of things. So that's what's in that newsletter. And again, does it take a little bit of time to do it? Yes, but it pays big dividends, and it definitely, people do business with who they know, like, and trust. You guys have heard it for 100 years. This is a great way for you to do it. And I always said, with all the marketing that we do, if I did just have one, it would be the newsletter. It would be the last thing I would get rid of. All right, for time's sake, I'm not really going to go over this, but no, I have to go over this because it ties into the home value call. At closings, we're known for agents getting the commission check, sometimes not even going to closings nowadays because of COVID. People still think they don't have to go to closings, and you don't. But again, if you're trying to get that repeat and referral business and really build that relationship with that client, I know a lot of agents go to closings, but then they never talk to their seller anymore or buyer anymore. It just kind of it disappears, right? You just spent the last 3 or 4 months with them every day, and now you're not talking to them. So this is just a plan that you could follow, where the day after a closing, you give them a call, follow up with them, see how things are going, how was their first night in their home, was there any issues, any problems, etc. Usually it's 99% of the time it's fine. Send them a personal note, and that's it. And then call them maybe in 30 days later, follow up with them again, same type of thing, make sure everything is going okay. Send them another personal note. And then from there, every year, 365, you're calling them every year and having that conversation with them. But what you're offering them is you're offering them a home equity review, right? A home equity review. Somebody just grab me a small water from back there, please. So a home equity review is their biggest asset is their home, guys, right? How many people in here have, thank you, have mutual funds? Anyone? Okay, do you guys get a statement? How often do you guys get statements? Huh? Every quarter, every year, right? And a lot of their mutual funds are where their retirement is, right? It's a big asset. But think about their homes, right? Their homes are their biggest assets. But no one has given them a value in what their home is worth, right? So if you're the professional that you say you are, and you're their real estate agent for life, shouldn't there be a courtesy call once a year that you just reach out to them and say, hey, just want to give you a call. I can't believe it's been 4 years since you moved into the property. And hey, as always, I'm just calling you to see if you'd like a home equity report on your property, right? We call it the home value call. And there's a script for it, very simple. And 90% of them are always going to want it. Some of them say, no bother, I don't want you to waste your time. But all it is just a phone call to them, checking in with them, seeing if they have any plans to move in the next 3 to 6 months, or if they know of anyone looking to move in the next 3 to 6 months, and you're providing this equity report to them. And now with ChatGPT, does home equity reports really well. It's really easy to do with a couple prompts. You can do an RPR as well, right, and send them that. Sometimes the values are spot on, sometimes they're off, but at least you could tell them, here's a ballpark of what's going on in your market, and this is what we can do for you, and you give them that information. This is a letter that we send out with the RPR. So you could do this in a geographic farm, even with people that are not clients of yours. This worked very well. We get a lot of listings from this when we send it out consistently to neighborhoods. It does create work for you because it does, you have to print them out. It's a 12-page mini report with a cover letter, but it's a handwritten envelope that goes out. And if you do this consistently over time, you will get results from it. So I have a coaching member, his name is Justin Croft. I always share the story. Justin, he's been coaching with me now for, this is going to be his 8th year. I can't believe it's been 8 years that he's been coaching with me. And Justin was getting some reload leads, and on the reload leads, one of them were over $1 million. And he said, Willie, wow, that was so easy to work with these people, and I made so much more money. How do I get more of those? And I said, Justin, you get what you asked for. I said, what are you doing to get $1 million sales? He goes, I'm not doing anything. That's why I'm asking you. So I said, all right, pick a neighborhood that has $1 million properties or more, and let's start farming that neighborhood. Do you know of anyone? He goes, yeah, it's easy. It's the Disney streets here in Dallas. So I don't know, Pinocchio Way or, Goofy Lane or whatever, right? So I'm like, all right. I said, go, let's do the research. So he gathered all the research, right? He did all the demographics, found out there was 800 homes in this $1 million neighborhood. Got all the names from the tax records, the names, the owners, the addresses, and then put it all in an Excel sheet. We created labels for him. And what he did is, I said, he had labels, but he personally hand wrote 800 of these envelopes over the course of 14 weeks, right? So I don't know what the math was. I think it was like 10 or 13 a day he did. That's what he had to do. 10 or 13 where he had to print a cover letter like this and then print the RPR letter, stuff them, fold them. He bought a color printer, a really nice color printer for home. His stamps, his ink, his letterhead, all that stuff that he did. He had it all on an Excel sheet because he's very C personality type like that. Cost him like $3,600, right, to do all 800. But out of that, he ended up picking up a 1.2 buyer because she had already been listed. She goes, I'm already listed. I already have an agent, but he doesn't work with people in a certain area of town. So I need a buyer agent to help me. So he got a 1.2 sale from it. He got another listing at 2.4. And then the big one was he called me and goes, Willie, you're not going to believe this. 4 months later, after sending that RPR letter, this guy calls me. Got your letter like 4 months ago, and I'm looking to sell my house. He looks it up. It's a $6 million listing. And he's like, wow, $6 million listing. This is great. He goes, I'm interviewing 4 other agents. You would be the 5th. If you're interested in coming over, because I got your letter, I still have it here. Because again, it has shelf life. People will keep it if it's valuable. It's good information. He went out there. I helped him prep for it. We did Lux VT. We did luxury brand marketing. Had this whole package together for him. He went out there, nailed it. If you know Justin, he's very animated. He's a really good guy. And he nailed it. And he ended up getting it, sold it in 54 days. And he called me, left me a video. I probably still have it on my phone. And he's like all excited. He's like, the escrow just closed. I just got it into my bank account. It was a $154,000 commission check he got, right? So my point on that is this, is that we all know this exists. We all know this is something there. We all want more listings. But again, are you doing it, right? And are you putting in the time? Are you being consistent with it? And are you believing in it? Because some agents don't believe it, right? They don't want to spend the $3,300 because they feel that, you know what, it's a lot of money, which I know, and I'm very sensitive to that is. Maybe it's not 800, maybe it's just 100, maybe it's 50 to start. But then once you get that out and you start making money, put 10% back into marketing. Anytime you make something, put 10% back into marketing, and you're going to put it into items like this to get more listings. But he's number 1 or 2 in Berkshire Hathaway of all Dallas-Fort Worth in the last 3 years. And I think the number 1 agent, she has like 3 team members. So he always says, I work on my own and she has a team, so I'm really number 1 type of thing. But I said, you're still number 2. I said, we got to work on getting your numbers up. All right, referral partners, real quick. I just talked to you guys about that. Divorce attorney, estate, financial planners, CPAs, insurance agents, nursing home assisted living sales managers are huge. People always need assistance with that. painters, mortgage lenders, junk removal people, and estate sale movers, right? Senior on the move type people. These are all people that you should be having coffee with, put them in on your weekly emails, put them in your newsletters, get to know these people because they're a lot of times in front of these people before they even think about calling a real estate agent, right? So you want to get those referrals. All right, any questions on any of that information? Locally, I wanted to share with you that you guys could just pick through this. These are just returners that came back. So if you guys just want to pass those around and pass them back so everyone can take a look, you could just open those up. Those are some of the newsletters and what they look like. There's a company, a question I get a lot of times is, how do you mail them out? Like, you have to sit there and lick them and stamp them and all that? Well, Justin did, okay? But for these flyers and things that we do, every door direct mail and stuff like that, like you guys are reading right now, I use a company, you guys might want to write this down, it's itidirectmail.net. itidirectmail.net. Great company. You just give them the PDF, give them the mailing list, and they take care of it. They put it in handwritten font. They put a live stamp on it. It gets delivered. Works very well. Here locally, Trish, my assistant who's on vacation, her and Mandy wanted to do it. So they sent out these flyers up in Delanson and Duanesburg. That's where they live. And started sending these. I want to say right now they have about, the first mailer they sent out, they got a listing. Second mailer they sent out, got another listing. Third mailing, nothing, right? And then after that, they kept trickling in. So far, I think they've done 9 mailings, and they got 11 listings, and probably another 4 or 5 that are slotted to maybe come up in the summer or in the fall. All right, but that's all it is. So I want these back, though. These are my only copies of these, but you guys can take a look at what they look like. Here's a local view of that. All right, any questions at all before we go into the listing process with Brian? Okay. Let me just take a sip. You guys go to the bathroom, you're on your own. Please don't do it in your seats. But you can get up at any time. All right, 14-step listing process. The 14-step listing process is something that we actually created over the years. And the reason why we did it is because a lot of agents, including myself, have gone into listing presentations, and I've probably done well over 1,000 listing appointments that I've been on, and I've lost a lot. I lost a lot of appointments in the beginning because I always did something first, second, or last. Maybe something wasn't presented properly. And I'm going to share some of those different tips with you guys today. Because you can do all the lead generating you want, and you can get in front of those people. But if you don't have a good listing presentation and you don't have a good process of getting those listings, you're going to waste a lot of time and money by doing it, okay? So how can I share some tips with you guys as to the best practices and the best process to do it? So you guys ready to go through this quickly? All right, I think you guys have it in front of you. Is that correct? Is it in your sheet? Yeah, we can get you a copy. If you need a copy, see Casey up front after, and she'll get you a copy somehow. Okay?
There's extra right there.
Got extra?
I have one on my same time.
All right, that's all right. We just need one over. Anyone else need it? You know? All right, you guys ready? Here we go. All right, number 1. Some of these might seem basic, but I'm going to tell you, be on time. Try to get to the home 5 minutes early. You won't be rushed, and this allows you to look around the outside, look around the neighborhood, that type of stuff, right? The last thing you want to do, think about a seller who's been living in a home for 30 years, 35 years, right? Maybe they're a little older, whatever, it doesn't matter, probably older. You're coming over at 2 o'clock for a listing appointment, right? They're nervous, right? They have all the vacuum lines going, right? Everything's spotless. It's been clean for 2 days. They're worried like you're going to buy the house. You're not buying the house, right? But they're acting as though you are, right? You guys have been on those appointments. You know what I'm talking about, right? And then you show up late, right? Think about what they're doing at 1 o'clock, right? They're pacing. 1:30, they're already looking out the window to see if you're pulling up a little bit early. 5 of, you're already late, pretty much, right? But now you get there 5 after 2, 10 after 2, no phone call to them. They're upset. They're ticked off, right? Because, again, it's a disrespect type thing. And Dan Kennedy, he's a marketing guru. I remember him saying a long time ago, he said, punctuality has direct correlation with integrity. And you got to really think about that, because some people can get insulted by that. But out of some dealings that I've had, the people that have showed up late, contractors, roofers, different people, those are the ones I had the worst problems with, right? The people that have come on time, or, let's say they're late and they call ahead of time, that's fine. But the people that just kind of have no regard for your time are the ones I've had the most problem with. So just make sure you guys are being on time. And the reason I say that is because I won listings because I showed up early and I was on time, and they referenced that the other agent got there 20 after, didn't even call them, and just showed up like, what do you want to list your home for? And like already assumed that they had the listing in the bag. And when they said, no, I'm still interviewing 2 other people, they got upset. So being on time is number 1. Number 2, again, knocking on the door, ringing the doorbell, right? Seems like basic stuff, but you want to greet those people properly, right? So a quick handshake when you come in the door. Again, you have to be careful with religions and stuff like that. Sometimes that's not appropriate. But a quick handshake, look them in the eye, come in the house, and I always stop before I go anywhere, and I say, would you like me to take my shoes off? Everyone do that in here? Right? It's respectful, right? And other people say that. Yeah, the guy came in here, his feet were all wet, and he goes walking through my house. I didn't like him from the beginning, right? So, and here's a tip. If you're going to walk in, probably more ladies than guys, because most guys have socks on, but if you're going to walk in and take your shoes off, make sure your nails are appropriate and they're not all jacked up, okay? Because I went on a listing appointment with an agent, she took her shoes off, I said, you got to be kidding me, that's disgusting. Put your nails on. So make sure you guys do that, just a little tip. All right? So that's number 2, making sure that you can do that. And then ask them, where can I put my stuff down? Where can I put my laptop down? Where should we go? And do that, right? Don't just go and throw it on the heirloom or hand-me-down table that they've had that you just scratched because you threw your laptop on it. Number 3, turn your laptop on, make small talk. Get your listing presentation up and running. Right, get that going as you make a little small talk. Put it up on the counter, whatever. Plug it in if you can. Ask for permission to do that. Number 4, ask the seller for a quick, keyword is quick on there, tour of their home. Always bring a notepad. Big mistake I made. I lost a listing. I thought I had it in the bag. And I called the lady, and she goes, Willie, we're going to go with someone else. I go, geez, I thought we did a pretty good job. Can I ask you why? We're not going. I just felt she was a lot more enthusiastic and really seemed to like my house a lot better. I go, I thought you had a great house. What do you mean? And she goes, well, we walked you through, and it was a long walkthrough because I remember they were there for like 20-something years and remodeled the whole house, and she had to tell me about everything, right? Well, guess what? I'm like this, my hand in my pocket. Okay, great. Oh, that's nice, yeah, right, nice. We're going through the whole thing. This other lady was taking notes. And she said, you didn't take one note on all the different things that we did. You didn't take one note. And this girl wrote down everything. And I felt she was a better candidate because she took more of an interest in my house than I felt you did. Right? That was probably a $17,330 commission check. I remember it. So always bring a notepad. Even if you can't read your notes, write it down. And Trish will laugh, and probably Casey too, because you've done it a couple times. They look at my notes after and like, what the hell is this? What am I supposed to go by on this? I'm just jotting things down. Number 5, make mental notes of the negative selling points. You don't want to go in there, and I always use the example, Keith, I won't say his last name, an agent that we had. He wanted me to go on a listing with him in Schenectady on Union Street. And we walk in there, and we walk in the front door, and it's a husband and wife. And as soon as we walk in, I'm like, hey, how you doing? And this smell of cat urine smell is coming out. So I'm trying to play it off. And while he walks in, he's like, do you have cats? I hate cats. I wanted to kill him. It was like one of those slow motion moments where I just wanted to choke him. Like, be quiet. Well, as soon as he said that, she got red in the face, went upstairs. The husband brought us around, went downstairs. He found out the 3 big cat bins that were unemptied and filled with cat poop and everything else. And he went downstairs. He's like, oh, this is disgusting. He says again, in front of the husband now. So we come upstairs, and as we're walking upstairs, I'm like, keep your mouth shut, will you, please? And get upstairs, and the husband, I'm like, where's whatever her name was? Sally, right? He goes, I don't know, let me go check on her. Goes upstairs. A couple minutes later, he comes down. He's red in the face. He's like, guys, I'm going to have to ask you guys to leave. Right?
Wow.
Why? She was insulted, right? She was insulted. So I said, thank you very much for your time. I knew exactly where he was coming from. And he's like, what are you talking about? I had an appointment with her at 10 o'clock. Like he's going into it. Totally off over his head, right? But you want to keep those negative points to yourself. So same thing, like, I had another agent open up the back door. It's like, oh, you got a Wendy's back there? Forget it. This is commercial exposure. You got to take off at least 10 or 15,000. 5 minutes, we're in the home. So write those things down. So when you're walking through the house and you see negative things and you see a mold stain or you see something, just jot them down in the bottom right-hand corner is what I put them. And I want to build that rapport first with them. You don't want to just come at them negative with all these negative comments. So that's number 5. Number 6, compliment them on the condition of a home instead, right? Let them know they have a great home and they'll have no problem selling it. Brian Buffini taught us that many years ago. Walking through, it's, oh my God, it's a great layout. This is a great kitchen, very open concept. I love the colors on your wall, very neutral. Now, don't make up stuff, right? If the house is a dump, don't go making up things. But, again, compliment them on the nice things about it instead of going to the negative, right?
What if they start, I'm sorry, I gotta ask.
Yeah.
What if they're pointing out the negative?
Perfect. I say, you know what, it's a great thing. I'm going to note that right here. And I keep going with them. Because usually, Elizabeth, you're right, at the end of the conversation and when you're sitting with them, which we'll get to that point, is when I'll be able to say to them, you already know the things that you need to do, right? Because I always tell them, when I walk through your property, I'm coming through with the eyes of a buyer, right? Let them know that. I've been in thousands of listings or hundreds of listings or a lot of listings, whatever you want to say to them. And I'm going to go through with the eyes of the buyer and point some things out that might be a bigger deal to them and is not a big deal for you. So you're already asking for permission to give them feedback, right? But I usually wait until I sit down with them and after we do the tour. Because if you just start rambling these things off, they get very, very upset, okay? Very emotional transaction, right, for a lot of these sellers. Very emotional transaction for them, so you got to be careful of that. All right, so you give them compliments, you're going through the property, you'll have no problem selling it. Remember that keyword, because they always think there's going to be a problem. No one's going to love our home like we do. Who's going to even buy this thing, right? They're already second guessing whether they're going to sell it or not. You sure that's not a problem? I went into this one house in Sherwood Forest last month. The house is immaculate. I mean, you can eat off the garage floor. The place, and she's like, are you sure it's okay? Is it clean enough? And I'm like, oh my God, don't come to my house, right? And my house is pretty clean. Sherry's pretty clean. But this lady was just off the top. But she, in her mind, she's sicko. She's sicko. She thinks her house is dirty. And I told her finally, we built up a rapport. I go, you're nuts. All right, then number 7, sit down at the table, right? You want to get that table. You want to sit down with them. Brian shut it off on me. And when you sit down with them, you want to ask them, let me ask you. I know you're interviewing other agents if they are. If they're not interviewing other agents, then no need to worry about it. But a lot of times, especially in this market, I see a lot of them meeting with different agents. What are you looking for in a real estate agent? Just ask them that question. And you'll be, what do you think the top 3 things are? Number 1, well, what do you think it's worth, right? Number 2, what are some things that I need to do to get my house ready? You see anything I need to do before putting it on the market? And number 3, what is it?
How quickly can you sell?
No. What do you charge? Right? You got to be able to not answer that question. Seriously.
What was the question? Sorry.
Well, how much do you charge? Well, you know what? We're going to get to that. I'm going to go through the presentation here, and it's going to cover all that information for you. That's how you deflect that. Because if right away you go off and say, I don't know, we have other agents here from other companies, but I don't know, we charge 6 apples, right? They're going to be like, oh, okay. Wow, all right, good. The other guy was only going to do it for 4 or 5. But yeah, go ahead and show me your marketing. You think they're really listening to my marketing at this point? We're done. Conversation's over. You might as well just leave. So save that to the end, because what is commission to a consumer?
Expense.
Cost, right? It's an expense. And cost is only an issue in the absence of value. So you have to show value first before presenting something like that. It's just like going to Dunkin' Donuts versus Starbucks, right? Why do we like Starbucks versus Dunkin' Donuts? Perceived value, right?
I think Dunkin's better.
I think Stewart's is better. Right? But my point on that is that you have to show that consumer value first before you even talk that. So don't get down that rabbit hole. The second thing they might ask you is, well, hey, we just did the tour. What do you think it's worth? We're going to get to that in a minute, right? Because I always tell them in the presentation as we go through, there's 3 things that are going to sell your home that we feel most important about. Number 1 is the condition of your home. You got a beautiful home. It's definitely going to sell, Trish. And we just went through here, and you already pointed out 4 or 5 things that you need to do before putting it on the market. And I agree with you on maybe 3 of them, but this one you don't have to worry about. Maybe we just get the carpets clean. You don't have to go replacing all this and all that, especially in today's market, right? Number 2 is marketing, and that's why you hire a real estate agent, and there's a big difference between what an agent will charge and what they will do for their commission. That's a big statement right there, right? There's a big difference between what a realtor will charge and what they will do for their commission. I'm going to show you exactly what we do to market your home so that we can get as many eyes of the buyers on your property. Sound good? Yeah. And then number 3 is pricing, because all the marketing in the world is great, but if you don't have the right price on your home, it's not going to sell, right? So we're going to save that for the end. And that's where we push that whole conversation with pricing and commission, right? And then from there, I ask for permission. Is it okay to go ahead and show you what we do for marketing? Yes, you can. And then we go right into the seller presentation. Right?
All right, how about a round of applause for Willie? Just recapping and going back on some of the things he says, just obviously observing it for over 20 years. He definitely practices what he's preaching. It's not like a Harvard law professor that hasn't been in a courtroom in 20 years, right? This stuff is working and he's validating. Not only is he teaching it and coaching it, but he's validating it. But going back into the listing process, just to recap a little bit. What business are you guys in? Lead generation business, right? Without generating leads, none of this other stuff I'm about to show you matters. So a lot of the mistakes that agents work on is they spend their time and energy and money doing other activities that aren't going to lead to the appointment. And there's really a pipeline process to this appointment. Willie went through the 14 steps. What he usually says, and I'm surprised he didn't say it, it's like a combination lock. You know what I'm saying? If you have the combo, and if you do it out of order, what happens? Can't get in, right? You have to do it in a set order. And approaching listings is no different, right? If you just start with the initial phone call, let's go back to the initial phone call. Really, you should be generating the leads. I'm going to go back even further. Generating the leads, using some of the tools and samples that he showed you today, amongst other things, to generate leads. But your whole day should be, basically prospecting until you get someone to raise their hand. Once they raise their hand, you want to make a connection with that person, right? Don't just try selling them on the first phone call. Make a connection with them, small talk. Obviously, the market's going to come up, and they're going to want to know what he said. They're going to want to know what their home is worth, what you charge for commission, right? That's going to be on the initial phone call. And it pains us to this day when we see agents in the hallway or on their phone, and they're selling on their phone. Well, we charge this much, and we do this for you, and we do that for you. Done. Because what happened is you just self-eliminated yourself. You're not even realizing it, right? People do business with who?
People they know, like, and trust.
Know, like, and trust. They don't know you yet, right? That's like me screening someone on a dating app on, well, how much money you make? What do you got in your bank account? Right? I'm not going to go meet with you or even spend my time unless I know these answers right away. And if they said, well, I just recently went through a divorce and I hate my act, click, right? You're giving them too much information on the initial phone call. So what you want to do is you want to make that connection. You want to find out what is their pain. And you should follow a simple script. It's very simple. You want to establish timing and motivation. When are they looking to make a move? right? And what's really motivating them? Are they looking to, like the list that Willie put up before? What are the reasons why people have to sell? Do they need to downsize? You know, are they going through a divorce? Is there a death in the family? Find out what is that's driving their motivation, because you want to be able to use that and bring that information to the table with you to answer questions later on when we're sitting here doing the presentation. But on that initial phone call should just be two things that you're going to do on that initial phone call, okay? You're going to establish timing and motivation, but you're either going to book an appointment or you're going to book what?
Call back.
A follow-up, right? Two things. You're never going to hang up with an open-ended call. You want to either go in for the appointment, or if they're not ready because of their timing, hey, we're looking to make a move in 6 months or next year when our, daughter graduates. Okay, I'm going to set a follow-up for half that time. So if they're looking to make a move in a year, I'm going to follow up with them in 6 months. If they're looking to make a move in 6 months, I'm going to follow up in 3 months. Okay, but either way, I'm not hanging up that phone unless I book an appointment or a follow-up. Now, if their timing is right and they're ready to move and they want to talk to an agent and they have to move, they're thinking about selling, a couple other key important things on that phone call. Again, you don't want to get into an in-depth conversation about what you charge, what you think the house is worth, right? And we're going to talk about this at the end when we get into the pricing section and ask you, so how much you think houses are worth here? How much you think, I got this 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath colonial in Clifton Park. What do you think I can get for it? What's the answer? I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. No two homes are the same. Is that a true statement? Okay, I have to see the house. I have an opening tomorrow at 2. Okay, are you available? Okay, and the other thing I want to know that's critical, this is a huge mistake that I see a lot of agents make throughout the years, okay? You want to make sure you're speaking to an owner, right? And all key decision makers are going to be present when you go there, okay? If they say, well, my spouse works on Thursdays, but I'm available. Okay, when are you both together? Well, we can get together for an hour. I can come walk through the house. I have a ton of information to share, and in my experience, a lot of it will get lost in translation. I don't want to put you in that position. In other words, I want your significant other to hear the same information you're hearing right from the horse's lips. Is that how this thing goes? House from mouth, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Look at this. It's my second one. I'm jacked up. I'm ready to go. All right? So the phone call ahead of time is very important. You want to make sure you're meeting with all decision makers. And I remember me and Willie have an LLC, a rental property. We needed some work done in a basement. And I was calling around a couple different companies to come over and get an estimate. And this one company would not come over unless he was there too, right? And I'm like, what? He's out of he's out of the state, right? What's the big deal? Blah, blah, blah. But they knew he was a decision maker, right? So don't hate the player, hate the game. I had to respect their game because they knew what was going to happen. They automatically gave me an out. I was going to go meet with the tech. He was going to give me an estimate, and I was going to say what? Hey, that's great. Let me just talk it over with my partner, and I'll get back to you tomorrow or the day after. In the meantime, I'm free to go talk to other companies. There's no commitment there, right? You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to do a presentation like we're going to cover here. You should be able to do in and out in less than an hour. Some of you, high eyes, and that's another training, dispersonality, can turn it into a 4-hour like that. Okay, and I've been there. I'm guilty of been at a property way too long talking, giving all kinds of valuable information. And then what happens? You automatically already gave them an out, and now that time is going to be used to someone else that's going to, when the other significant other comes, they're going to want to know 2 things, right? Willie mentioned one of them. What's my home worth? And what do they charge, right? And when the significant other that you said, oh, I had a great, appointment with Brian and this company and it was great, but he's saying, he's great information, but this is where we should price our house and this is what they charge. What? $500,000? Are you kidding me? My cousin, sister's brother, uncle on my mother's side says that we can get $850 all day long on this property, right? Call him up. He does it part-time. He just got licensed. It happens. It's a joke, but it's not. It sounds a little extreme, but I've seen worse and lost out on worse. So again, just to recap, you want to make sure that phone call, initial phone call, less is more. You're not oversharing too much information on the initial phone call. You're establishing timing and motivation, and you're looking to meet with all decision makers at the property. Okay? Make yourself available. Suggest a time. I have an opening on Friday. You're the professional. You guys have your calendars. You suggest a time, but you want to get all decision makers there. If there is a situation where it's an estate and there's multiple siblings, right? Had this one. I've had agents say, yeah, well, you know, the brother that lives in Las Vegas, you know, the market's hot over there, and said that we were underselling it. Yeah. Does he have a computer? Yeah. You guys heard of this thing called Zoom? Right? What I would do in that situation, I would definitely go to the property. I would walk through the property, take notes with my notepad, and then have the seller's representative follow me to the office. We'll get on in front of a computer, and we'll bring in the other decision makers, okay, so that we can present. And you got to frame it as, I'm doing you a favor. I'm going to bring in your brother and your sister. I know they're giving you a hard time, you know, with the information. Why don't you come back to the office? We'll connect them over Zoom, and we'll have a conversation together. So they could hear it right from me, horse's mouth, not from you, right? And then argue with you over whether the information's valid or not, and who has a better representative that they could send over. But to recap all the different things Willie said, you have to do the combination in order. So I'm establishing the prospect. I'm getting them timing and motivation. I'm going in for the appointment. I'm going to be there on time. I'm going to follow all those steps. I'm going to do the quick tour. And one of the things I also like to add on the tour is compliment them, like Willie said. But I also want to make sure that they're not spending money that they don't have to spend. Some of you guys want to be home improvements and you go to Home Depot too much and you're going to say, yep, you need to replace that roof. Yep, that's going to be a problem. That's going to come up on inspection. Do buyers really care about roofs these days? It's important, right? But is it going to make or break a sale in this market? If the house is right and it checks all the boxes, can we negotiate credits? Is that possible? Should we repaint the whole house? I had a seller say that to me right now. You know, his father was getting moved into assisted living. He had some, you know, grays, but it wasn't that bad. It was a couple, when you took the picture off the wall, you know, you had the little dust and whatever. Do I got to bring painters in and paint the whole house? You know, because I have one guy, he said he'll do it for $3,300. It was a small ranch, $3,300. And an inexperienced realtor would say, yeah, that would be a great idea. If you could make everything look neutral and new, you're going to get more money. Is that a true statement? No. Right? Buyers will walk in and see past that. Now, if it's something that's big and it's just, you know, coming out you like this, then yes, we're going to say, hey, buyers need to be able to picture their stuff here and neutral. So what I would do at a minimum is declutter, make sure it looks nice and clean, but I wouldn't go out of your way to spend all kinds of money to make major repairs that are unnecessary in this market. If we see something that shows up in feedback, we could talk about addressing it then. Okay, but let's test the market right now. Let's keep it neat, clean, and you know, overall, you have a great home. The condition looks great. I think it has great bones, and a lot of buyers are going to see past some of the shortcomings, okay? Now, on the flip side of that, you have some sellers that don't see things that they need to address and repair. So I try to make it simple and easy. For example, when I'm walking through, I'll look at a switch plate cover. It's cracked as soon as you walked in the front door. How much does that cost at Home Depot? $2, $3, if that. Okay, you walk past it every day, you don't see it. If you want to put some money into something, how about spending a couple bucks just to switch that out? Again, make sure it's neat and clean, and you know, buyers can see themselves there. When I go down into the basements, I always say this, because I'm trying to give them value. It's not that I'm trying to be a home expert what they need to replace, but I'm trying to build a know, like, and trust. And you start by giving them suggestions, simple little easy tips that's not going to break their wallet and make them say, gee, if I'm going to list with Brian, now I got to spend $11,000 on the roof. I'm going to have that hardwood floor in the back, you know, resurfaced, you know, in order to put it on the market, like he said. Where someone else is going to come in right behind me and say, no, don't worry about that. Who do you think they're going to go with? Right? So we got to be careful with our words. When I go down into the basements, what's one of the things, as you guys are showing agents, that buyers always look at? The furnace, right? Electrical box. A lot of these furnaces are 25, 30 years old. They're towards the end of their useful life. But guess what a bottle of Windex and a little sweat equity does? Right? If you take a little Windex, wipe down all the dust bunnies and spider webs off of the furnace, and I tell sellers just like this, hey, you know what you want to do? Here's a pro tip for you. Take a little Windex, wipe this all down. The furnace works good, right? Change out the filter, $10 for a filter, wipe it all down. You're going to put a lot of the buyers' fears to ease a little bit, just because they're going to walk right past it. Oh, it looks nice, clean. But if they see it rusted out, dirty, you know, looks like it hasn't been touched in 30 years, you know, you're going to be raising a red flag. But that tip right there is me just trying to provide value in that quick tour. Does that make sense?
How do you feel about that, pointing stuff out as a realtor versus saying if the house is really definitely in bad shape or there's considerably bad things going on, do you offer a pre-listing inspection as a suggestion?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. Every house is different. So your point, if I go into a house that's dilapidated, I'll say,
Clearly delusional. Like,
I'm going to come over here with Jackie because Jackie's had experience with this. First thing that we're going to do is say, who are the wholesalers or investors that we know that could flip? So I'll tell you what, there's a lot of work here. Obviously, you don't want to spend the money to put in there. Is that correct? What I can do is I can have someone coming over here and look, and what they'll do is they'll give us kind of their perspective of what the after repair value would be and what it would be worth to them to do it. You can compare whether or not that's a number you're happy with or not, but I'm giving them a solution. I'm giving them an offer. Now, you're probably not going to like the number. I set them up, right? But it's going to help me in the end getting them to price it right, okay? So that if we have to go on the market, they're going to have that low number in the back of their mind. So they're not going to be asking for top dollar in that situation. But every home's different, so you got to approach it like that. Now, what Willie said is I'm not going to insult them. Right? I'm going to say, hey, I understand, get it. It's hard times. Everyone's a lot of money. You know, some people don't want to put all the money in to repair it. Here's the things that we don't have to worry about. I think the market will adjust accordingly. Some things we might have to give a credit. And unfortunately, some things might hold up the sale of your home. But what I can do for you is I could bring in, we could either do a pre-and-home inspection, try to beat anything that's going to happen in the inspection process, or I could have an investor come in. You guys, anyone here know an investor that flips homes? See? Call them up and have them come in. They love those phone calls. Okay? Doesn't mean that they're automatically going to buy, but in a situation, you never know. Seller might say, I could live with that number. Okay? You want to show value. Anyways, for sake of time, I want to get into this. So, go to the house. Everything Willie said, you want to shake their hand, make that connection. After you do the tour and you're taking down notes of the tour, I always put mental things in there. I don't blurt them out right now because I just met them, right? I'm not going to sit there and point out major flaws or compete with them on price, right? What do I mean by that? They're going to be trying to sell you. I'm not buying the house, right? I'm here to work with you, trying to market the house. We're on the same team. So first and foremost, reassure them that you're on the same team. They're going to try to convince you what the house is worth, okay? I'm not the buyer. I'm here to help put your house in the best light. I agree with you. I want to work with you. We're on the same team. You don't have to sell the house to me. I tell them that right away in a professional, nice way. Okay, so let's figure out. I want to share some information with you. I want to share the process with you, and then we're going to get into pricing. So what do you charge, right? This is where you need to know personality types. You know, D, I, S, and C, that's another training that we go deep into. You're going to have different personality types. Some people are going to want to go fast, and some people you need to go slower. They need to digest the information in order to do what? Make a decision. Willie mentioned this is the biggest asset for most people they're going to ever have. And if you're going too fast for some people, you might lose them just on personality. So you have to ask key questions, look for key things to understand. And I'll just break it down simply. Is this person that just doesn't have time to waste? They want to get to the point? I'm going to probably go through these slides a lot faster. If this is someone that's asking me a lot of questions on the initial phone call, as soon as I met with them, they're giving me a tour, they're asking me a lot of different questions. I know they need more information to make a decision. I'm going to slow down my pace. You have to be conscious of that. That's sales 101. Okay, this is a contact sport. So you want to understand the person's personality type in front of you. We tend to sell to our own personality types. So you need to understand how you are too. If you're the type of person that's really direct and aggressive, you might have to slow it down a little bit. If you're the type of person that just talks too much because you like information in order for you to make a decision, you might turn some people off. Okay, so you have to be aware of those personality types and conscious of it. But once the tour is done, I sit down at a dining room table, coffee table. I'm trying to limit distractions, make sure I have all decision makers present. If someone has to go take a kid to school or leave, I will reschedule this presentation. I'll say, hey, now's not a good time. I could always come back tomorrow, or we can meet at my office, or I could do a Zoom call with you. I give them the option. Which one prefers for you? Well, no, he's just going to run out, and he's comfortable with me making a decision. I said, again, I don't want to put you in that position. In my practice, there's so much information. This is your biggest asset. You're going to both want to hear this. Okay. So just don't give up that easy and say yes and just settle for one decision maker because, again, you're automatically going to give them out. Now, when I sit down at that table, do I sit directly across from the decision makers?
Beside them.
Right? I might position my laptop, and I'll sit right here, and I'll position my laptop so I can just click through it, and they could see the information. Because I don't want to be like the principal, right? I don't want it to be a me against them situation. Again, I'm not buying the house. I'm here to work with them. So I want to, even body language, let them feel comfortable that I'm on their side. Does that make sense? And as we go through the slide, I said, price, conditioning, and marketing is what's going to sell your house. Willie talked about this. We're going to emphasize that. I know you want to know how much your house is worth. I know you want to know how much we charge, but that's why it's important that I tell you a little bit about our company and the marketing that we do, okay? Because it's going to determine how much we price the house at, what you do for marketing, and what commission would be. So I want to just bring you guys up to speed on what's going on in the market. Now, I'm not going to go through every single slide here, but having a presentation allows you to basically like hand your resume out and go through it line by line, okay? Again, you're trying to set yourself apart from the competition. You want these people to know you, like you, and trust you. You have to educate them. First thing we do is educate them that you're not just hiring me, you're hiring my whole company. We work as a group. That's why we changed the word to a group years ago, because we want people to hire the group. So many agents' egos get in the way. I'm number one, me. Great, be number one. Put billboards up all you care. I'm going to leverage the team. I'm going to leverage our staff, because I want that seller to feel confident that if I'm not picking up my phone, they have options. Does that make sense? Who can call their doctor, I shouldn't say that, dentist right now and say, I'm coming in 15 minutes. Not only is the doctor going to answer the phone, but say, yeah, come on over. There's always a wise guy in the crowd who says, I can. He's my neighbor. Okay. You know what I'm talking about, right? You're the doctor, they're the patient. So, we had this situation come up in our President's Club luncheon. It says, hey, well, what happens when, customers want to see you all the time? They want you there at every showing. Who gets pissed off when they're at the doctor's office and a nurse comes in and takes your blood pressure? Right? Doctors are, you don't get mad at your doctor because he has other people assisting in the transaction. You should be no different. Present your team. If you don't have a staff, a great admin staff like we do, you guys have attorneys, you have home inspectors, you have lenders that you partner up. Call them your team. But you're not just hiring me, you're hiring my team. Okay, power in numbers, you want to leverage that. Don't go in there and be number one, because what they're going to see is that graphic on the left there, how most agents operate. You want to show them that you're a professional and you operate like a professional, like a doctor, like a dentist, right? Dentist has receptionists, they have a hygienist, they have an x-ray person. That dentist comes in at the end and looks at what? Strategy. Looks at all the information, greets the client, and how many people can they get in that chair a day? Right? It's because they're leveraging the other people. So you want to be able to use that and leverage the people you have. Talk about what that staff does for you. We leverage our staff. We show them our marketing, our leadership, our training that we do. We talk about every team. Every group has a leader, right? Think about any professional sports team. They have a head coach or a manager, and that person's leading the way. And everyone's expected to know that plan. Leverage yourself as part of a bigger thing, a bigger team. Leverage that leader's experience, right? At our company, obviously, we have Willie with over 25 years of experience, probably 30 years experience now in the market, books, things that he's talked about, coaching, training. Whatever experience you're attached to, leverage that. If you have a broker or a manager or someone else that you think has a better resume than you, especially for your newer agents, because what's going to happen? They're going to ask the question, how many homes have you sold? How many homes have you sold? Do you guys know the right answer for that?
Miranda Real Estate Group has sold X.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question. But to be honest with you, I work as part of a group, and this year we're on pace to sell over 1,000 homes again. Is that not a better question than, hey, congratulations, it's the biggest assets you own, you're my first. Got to start somewheres, right? Leverage the experience that you have, okay? Look at this great looking guy in this resume here. Brag. Put your own resume in there. If you do anything good in the community, if you had experience in customer service, even non-real estate related experience, if you're going to do something that's going to connect with that people. Again, you're building know, like, and trust factors, right? So yes, I'm going to have a brag sheet on my presentation. I'm going to share how we're involved in the community. What do we do in the community to give back? People like that. And you'd be surprised of how many people say, yes, I had a situation where, my father had a heart attack, and, we give money to the American Heart Association. We've given back to Toys for Tots, the Children's Hospital, et cetera, et cetera. It's a conversation piece, but it shows that you're not just a greedy, hungry agent looking to steal commission from them, right? You want to give back and you do business in your community. So talk about the process. This is probably the most important screen, I would say, slide on here is Don't assume that sellers know what it takes to sell a house because it diminishes your value. If anyone could list their home and sell it like this, everyone would be for sale by owner. Do you guys agree with that? So you have to walk them through and say, listen, every transaction that's out there, we're selling close to 1,000 homes this year or whatever your number is. And for the most part, we hope everything's going to go smooth. But there's a lot of different steps and processes I want to go through with you. Now, if it's someone that asks a lot of questions, I'm going to go slow through this slide. Okay? If it's someone that is just get to the point, what's my house worth? What are you going to charge? I'm going to go a lot faster. But I want them to know it's not just as easy as putting a sign on the front lawn and all of a sudden the offers come in. Right? We're going to have an appointment right now, which we're doing, which I'm going to update you on the market and our company, and we're going to come up with a strategy. Then we're going to do some paperwork. We're going to get the photographer over here to do great photos because it's important to the marketing. Right? And I'm going to walk them all the way through. Now, we hope this goes smooth, but every now and then, and you have to say this, there's going to be some bumps in the road, potentially. Why is that important to say that?
It's reality.
It's reality, right? Who has a deal that fell through? Right? In the last 2 months, 3 months. Anybody? Right? And a lot of times it's buyer remorse. It's because of appraisals. Anyone watch The Bachelor? Who's a lifelong Bachelor fan? Huh? I was thinking about this the other day. I heard it on the radio. It's good. That Bachelor, how many seasons do they have? Now, supposedly they get married at the end, right? This is the best thing. This is what I wanted all my life. This is the person I've been looking for. See how many of those bachelors are still married today. Things change. They fall through. And right now in this market, we have to set the expectations that buyers get into the competition. They're competing. They're going 25, 30, 40. We had someone raise their hand earlier. Who was it? Had lost an offer, 100,000 over, right? Guess what happens 2 or 3 days later when reality sinks in? Same thing that happens to the bachelor when they go home to their home lives. All of a sudden, it doesn't look as good as it did when they were competing. Okay, and you have to set the expectation for the sellers that you have a great home, we're in a great time, we're in a great market. Okay, but every now and then there might be some bumps in the road, and it's why you need a professional that knows the market, knows the numbers, and knows the information I'm about to share with you because I want you to be prepared. Okay, I'm going to try to get you through number 15 on closing day, and you'll be getting the check that you want and looking for, and I'm going to guide you through every step of the way. Now, if someone's contemplating for sale by owner, this screen will scare them because they don't think about all these different things they have to go through. Now, you're not here to scare people, but you're here to show them the value of having a professional and what you're going to bring to the table. And you could do it mostly with this one slide. Now, the rest of these slides all go into detail. Willie talked about it. Conditioning, marketing, and price complement the house. You have a great house. There's a buyer for everything. This home will buy. We got a couple adjustments, things that we could talk about. But you also need marketing. You could have the best house in the world, but if no one sees it, it's going to lower the demand. You want to get the most demand for your home. And even if you have great marketing, great condition, price plays a factor in it too. And we'll talk about that after. Don't get sucked in on this screen into the pricing conversation. I brought some information with me. I don't like to look at it ahead of time because I want to see the house and we can go through it together. But I'll go through that information with the eyes of a buyer's agent so you know what to expect. Again, I'm about to set expectations. All right, so here's a strategy. In this slide here, you can pull up different examples of what you do for marketing. Right? You can pull up, ideas about staging and making the house look in its best light. Whatever it is that you do, you should have something because sellers and people like to see pictures and graphs and information. If you're dealing with the high D personality types, the people are like this, just keep cruising through it, right? But we do photography, we do drone, aerial photos. We have a couple of QR examples where if they click on it with their phone, oh, look at this video. We do Matterport, we go through all the rooms, right? Talk about what else you do, especially if you're a local, small person, you want to compete with the big guys, you got to talk about relocation. Who's got relocation? Everybody's got Zillow, right? You guys all have relocation. We actually belong to a relocation network, so we leverage it. We're not just local, we're global, right? So it's another benefit to the sellers. You're not just going to get local buyers. We're going to expand. Who has the internet? Raise your hand. Right? People don't think that when they're interviewing you. They think you're just a local company. They don't realize, I got to tell a story now so much I don't do it, but I used to always say how I sold a house, true story. One time I got a phone call from a guy on one of my listings, and he was excited, young guy. So my girlfriend told me I had to call you today. Is there any way we can get in that house tomorrow? I said, well, I got some time this afternoon. He goes, oh, I'm a little tied up this afternoon. He goes, you're never going to believe this, but I was just, he goes, nah, never mind. I go, what? What's up? He goes, nah, you wouldn't believe it. Because I was just at sea for 6 months in a nuclear submarine. We just got to port in Hawaii. The cap just lifted. My first phone call was to my fiance and then to you. Okay? The internet works in Hawaii. It works here. So you got to let them know that you have relocation, you have buyers coming from all over the world, not just in your local backyard in your community, right? So showings, going again through that whole process, what to expect. How many times have you guys had sellers that say to you, hey, I'm only going to show it Saturday between 2 and 4. I don't want to show it after 9. I don't even want to sign on my front lawn. You got to set the expectation. Our job is to create as much demand as possible because what's it equal to the seller?
More money.
More money, right? More showings they get, more possible offers, more money that they're going to get. So we want to try to create as much demand as possible. One of the things you need to do is you need to be flexible. You need to be informed. You need to make sure the place is cleaned up. Again, just set the expectation what they need to do to maximize demand. Talk about showings, right? Talk about anything that you have is unique. One of the things that we have is our phones are answered by a live person 24/7. There's nothing worse than calling a business after hours or on the weekends. And please leave your name, number, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Like, click, right? So we always share that advantage with them. We talk about signage that we're going to do for our open houses and websites where it's going to be. What happens once we do get someone to raise their hand and an offer comes in? There's going to be some back and forth that goes, with them. We're going to talk about strategy. Is it always about the highest amount? No. So first thing is sometimes it's not about the highest dollar amount. It's about the one who can get to the closing table in the terms that you like. Okay, so I walk them through that and answer any questions that they have. We talk about best practices in negotiation. Right around this slide is where I'll pull up some of the information that we're going to go in later on in pricing with regards to the local market and the community that they're in. Anyone know where you could find that information? Is what I'm talking about? gcar.com, stats. Every month there's new reports there on the market that you can use. We cover them in our team meetings. We shove them down our agents' throats sometimes too much because that's information we want to share with the sellers to let them know and set the expectation what's going on in their backyard. And what's going on in their backyard might not be the same as going on in some other communities. So you have to show them the numbers. If they have a coworker who sold their house in 2 minutes, okay, but they live in the foothills somewheres and there's not, a lot of activity, a lot of marketing there, is their house going to sell the same way? Right? So you want to share different things with them, and we'll get into that in the pricing. You want to share showing time information with them, but you want to show the stats on how days on market and things like that are going to impact them, okay? And then you use that to leverage in negotiation. So we talk about what happens once you go under contract. You still have these things called contingencies that we have to face. So we talk about inspections and thresholds and all these different things. The bank appraiser still has to come out. So you want to elaborate and educate them on appraisals, right? And then, is it done there? No, there's still this thing called a title company. Who pays for what? Who handles those questions? Should we be handling those questions? You guys have partners. They're called attorneys. I didn't pass the bar. I don't know if anybody else here is an attorney in the room. Don't be an attorney. I see so many agents going, oh, if they walk away, you could sue them. They can't do that. That's breach of contract. You can't say that. You're not an attorney. All right? I'm going to refer some of my favorite words. You know what? Remember when I told you in the beginning there might be some bumps in the road? This is an example of one of them. What we typically do in this situation is I'm going to refer you to your attorney. I want you to ask your attorney this, this, and this. And based on the conversation you have with your attorney, I work for you. Whatever you direct me to do, I will contact the other side and do that. Don't just, oh no, I got it. I'm going to take care of them. And you start arguing with the other agent before the client even discusses it with their attorney. Okay? It happens all the time. So we got to tell them again what to expect, set the expectation. If there's a situation, I'm going to bring our other partners into the mix, namely your attorney. When is our commission earned? It's on your guys' Real Estate 101 class. Anyone know?
Meeting of the minds.
Meeting of the minds. Right? We get paid out at closing, but we earned our commission already at the meeting of the minds. So don't forget that all the time and think that, in order for us to have whatever, like we're alone all the way to the closing, because you're not. That's where the attorneys come in. Final steps. This is what we need to do. Make sure they know the time frame, how things are moving along. Don't just put it under contract and then call them a day or two before the closing. You got to call them in between and say, hey, we're a week away, 2 weeks away, things are going good. Have you heard from your attorney? You heard from the other realtor? They got mortgage approval. Why? You want to make sure they're boxing up stuff and making progress. And I've had situations with other agents and ourselves where, day before the closing, like, I need another 2 weeks. I got stuff, the whole house is full here. It shouldn't be a surprise when they're going to close. Or, I walked into a house the other day and the garbage cans are still there. And I said, hey, I know you're from New Hampshire right now, but the garbage cans are still here. Yeah, but don't the buyers keep those? Oh, you have to call this number, and they'll come and pick up the garbage cans, and the buyers will go and get their own garbage cans, right? People do things differently. So don't just make assumptions that they understand what's going to happen. We have to guide them step by step, just like that roadmap does. Give them a final checklist. They'll appreciate this. This is something when you call them, you can go over on the phone. Hey, do you need any assistance in finding movers on moving day? What can we do to assist you in your move? Right? And then just recap it. We recap what makes us different because we're trying to set ourselves apart from the competition. And what I'm really trying to do here is trying to set ourselves now, the competition is them. Everyone thinks they could sell for sale by owner, right? They're not thinking about all these different things that will bring additional value to them. So do you guys think, just recapping this, it gets lost in translation if you just talk to one person? Right? You think they're going to remember all this when they go to talk to their significant other or their spouse? Right? So we have to be very intentional about making sure all decision makers are there because there's a lot of information. Some common questions. This is for the people that ask a lot of questions. I make sure this is here so they see it in writing, not just taking off what I say about how commissions are paid now and some of the changes in the market. Have that information ready to go to discuss, right? Understanding how agents get paid. Then let's talk about pricing. I'll leave it right here on this slide for our next conversation because right about this point, what I do is I close my laptop down and I'll say, I'll pick on Marissa because she's here. Based on all the information I just shared with you, going back to what Willie said, I know that this was important to you, this was important to you, that was important to you. You want to recap and re-say with 3 things that are important to them and who they decide to list their house with and the company to put their house. So you want to make sure they answer those questions first. If they say, no, well, you really didn't tell me about price, we're going to get into price. Price aside, okay, you talked to me about you wanted someone that could communicate with you, you wanted someone that knew the market. Is there anything that you still are concerned after me sharing this information? Because if not, that means I didn't do a good job, and I'll be more than happy to go back and cover something. Nope, you did a great job. So now, if the objection comes out later on, we address their main concerns. Is that true? So before I even talk price, before I even talk commission, I'm handling the main objections first. I'm making sure all decision makers are present, and I'm making sure I answer the 3 primary questions that they had or concerns that they had. Correct? Pricing aside. Okay, now, let's talk price. Okay, we want to price your house to be competitive. We want to price your house to compete. Pricing actually starts on that initial phone call, going back. Again, you don't want to get into pricing over the phone. You want to make sure all decision makers are there, okay? But you really want to let them know that you don't set the price, they don't set the price. Who actually sets the price? Market. And my job is to, as much as I would love to get you the number that you want, my job is to get you market value, okay? 2 different things. Seller's price, market value, okay? Buyer's price. I always say this, our job, as I just said it earlier, is to get a meeting of the minds. That means taking a seller that wants this much money and a buyer that wants to pay this, we have to get them to the same meeting of the minds, right? This tool and this document is going to help you do that with the seller because you can show them all the best marketing in the world. If they don't understand the difference between market value and what they want, if they don't understand that the buyer sets the price, they don't, meaning the person that's going to buy their home is the only one that knows what that house is going to sell for. We can get appraisals, we can get everything else, but we have to get them on the same page. My job is to get you market value. So let's talk about that before we start looking at comps and talking about price. Okay? It's based on today's market, not what your neighbors sell for in 2021 when there was a COVID panic and everyone was paying, kind of like crazy numbers that we're seeing now. But you guys remember when it used to be 20 offers and 30 offers and all this crazy stuff that we were hearing, all cash and people fighting over different things? There's still a lot of those stories there because it's fresh in people's memory, right? Or they're hearing different things in the news. So we have to let them know it's based on today's market. And what market are we going into right now?
Shifting into a buyer's market.
We are far away from a buyer's market. But seasonality-wise, it's going to cool down a little bit because what's going to happen here in the Northeast in, I don't know, about 30 days? Summer vacation, right? Families start to go on vacation, kids are out of school, people start to open up their camps and go on lakes and vacations. So it will, just by seasonality, cool off a little bit. And as I mentioned before, it's still going to be high demand, but it's not going to be as crazy as a spring market. So if you see your neighbors right now selling fast, and this one going for this, and this one going for that, remember, we're going into, that's good, it's going to help you with comps, right? But don't expect the same thing. We got to set expectations. It's based on today's market. It's based on the competition. If someone goes and lists a house across the street or around the corner, or if you have two houses that are very similar to you in the same neighborhood, and they're priced $30,000, $40,000 under what you want, that's going to impact you. You got to point that out, and you should know with the information that you bring or you pull up. Active listings, I don't just call them active listings, but I also call them your competition. Here's your competition, right? So we'll look at what your competition is. It's based on today's financing. Anyone know what the 30-year mortgage rate is today? 6.61. You should be able to rattle it off like that. You know what it was yesterday? 6.65. Rates are coming down, right? No. But is it true? Someone that pre-qualifies at 6.61 versus someone that qualifies at 5.61, is that a bigger buyer pool? So there's less buyers right now that qualify for the price of a home. You have to show that. Okay, so it's based on financing. Financing does have an impact on price because of the impact it has on demand. Today's economic conditions. Right now in the market, I would say, the economy, with the exception of prices, overall seems strong, right? But people feel it in their pocket. They feel gas is high, groceries are high. Some people are second guessing whether now is a good time to buy a home or not. Like I said, because the inventory is so low, the demand's been strong, we lose sight of that. In a normal market, it would be very slow right now based on the interest rates and where the economy is at. So you have to look at some of those factors, especially in a local area. If there is a company or a business that hired a lot of people that all of a sudden just closes doors or laid off people, that's going to impact that market. So you want to be aware of that. I had a lot of those conversations back when we saw different malls that were closing up. People used to say, oh, it's so close to the mall. Have you been in that mall lately? Yeah. Right? You think about local economic conditions. Okay? And then this is the big one. We talk about condition, marketing, and price are three most important things in selling your home. What about location, location, location? Is it true that a house that is here, okay, might be different than it is here?
Yes.
Here's an illustration really quick. How much is this in a 24 pack at Walmart, this bottle? Huh?
$7 now.
No, at Walmart?
35 bottles for
Now how much is the individual
Individual.
bottle?
$2. No.
In a case? Where are you guys getting your water? Saratoga Springs? If I bought a case of water right now, each bottle, about 50 cents? Now, what if I sold this individual bottle on an airplane? See what I'm saying? Location matters. You got to let people see it in different ways. Okay? Location matters. And the value of things are different based on location. Buyer's perception of the property condition. You might be coming in here every day and you worked on all these projects and you did all these landscaping and you built these, decks and put up these blueberry bushes and everything that has sentimental value to you. But if a buyer walks in and, they're not appreciative of pets or something else to you, it's based on their perception. Okay? So I'm going to try to give you, without insulting them, as a buyer's agent, when I walk through properties, these are some of the things that buyers look at and point out, right? Like windows, roofs, whether or not it's an open layout, floor plan. Like these are things that we're going to talk about and consider. Now, some of those negative things that I wrote down in notes, that's when I'm going to come in with the pricing. I'm going to bring them up gently afterwards, right? Because now we're talking about a buyer's perception and market value and adjusting it. The neighbor's house went for more money, but maybe the neighbor's house was completely remodeled. And having a laptop with photos where you can get access to the MLS and show other comparables is going to be important. But here's what it's not based on. It's not based on what the house appraised for, right? Because, we just had it appraised 3 months ago for $50,000 more than what's going on, right? that's at a snapshot, especially when you get into the summer. Those appraisals are going to be based on spring market. So you got to be careful about those appraisals because, yes, that's good for you, but it was also in a different time of year that appraisal was done. And it's one person's opinion based on data at that given moment, okay? So appraisal is good. We could use it for leverage. We could use it for square footage. We could use it for a lot of different things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's what a buyer's willing to pay for that house, okay? What it's assessed for, this is a big one. You know, my taxes are so-and-so, and you know, I got an assessment for this much. That's typically a blanket statement across the community. That's a factor that we're going to use in our pricing, but that's not market value, okay? Just because it's assessed at a certain number, that's what the community is being taxed on. This is a big one. Well, you know what? We're making a move down to South Carolina now, and those condos down there that we were going to buy last year, they went up by 40 grand this year, so we need to get $40,000 more here, okay? Buyers don't care what you need to get out of it. Well, you know, when we put the pool in, we took a home equity line of credit, and we took an extra $100,000 out, so I need to cover my first mortgage and pay that line of credit off because we want to get all that money back from that pool. If you spend $100,000 on a pool, does the value of your home go up $100,000? No. Right? So when they say what I need to get out of it, you got to let them know that that's not what pricing is based on. You know, what your neighbor's home sold for, we talked about that. This is a big one. What it's insured for. You guys ever get these homeowners insurance statements and it shows a number what it is? That's replacement cost, okay? If they had to knock the house down and replace it, this is what it needs to be covered for, what it's insured for. That doesn't take into account depreciation. All right. If you have a house that's 15, 20, 30 years, it's not new construction, that's going to obviously be a lower number. What you have into it, right? A lot of people go crazy and they make it their home of their dreams. They put a lot of high-end upgrades in it. They're not necessarily going to get that back in certain markets, right? If they're competing. Big one here. You're going to struggle with this, especially if you guys know anything about this. The high-S people have a lot of personal feelings and emotions and years lived in it. It means a lot to them, right? We had our daughter's wedding in the backyard. We took prom photos in the driveway with everyone, right? We spent 3 weeks together as a family putting in all the hardwood floors. Buyers don't give a shit, right? They don't care. They're not going to pay a premium for that, right? So you want to make sure that you're explaining that right now before. Why is this important that we go over this list before we hit the numbers? Because you're heading off their objections before they even throw them at you. Because what's going to happen, again, they're going to try to convince you and sell the house to you when it comes to talking about price. Going through this list puts you on an even playing field, gets them to understand what market value is before you show them the numbers. And let them know when you show them the numbers, this is market data. This isn't Brian Miranda's personal feelings. I think you have a great home. If anyone can get you X amount of numbers for that home, I know it's us and our marketing. Okay, but here's what I'm concerned about. Okay, and we'll probably wind it down with this, and we'll talk about pricing and pricing strategy. Even if I can get you that high number for your house, even if I found a buyer with an 850 credit score, 6-figure income, well qualified, no problem. How many of those, percentage-wise, unless you're in Florida, how many of those buyers are actually going to pay cash? Right? Small percentage here. And even if they can pay cash, I don't know about you, but in my experience, when people pay cash, they want what? Write that one down. That's a keeper. I say it every listing appointment. I don't know about you, but in my experience, when people pay cash, they want what? They want a deal. They want something that's going to be a number that's lower than what you think is a good number. Okay? But let's just run under the assumption that a majority of the people that we're trying to create in this demand here are going to get financing. Even if they have perfect credit score, perfect income, once they accept an offer for you, they walk in. So you want 500, they're going to give you 550. Boom, we're going to give you 550. Within a few business days of that accepted offer, that buyer has to go to the bank and formally apply. Now, even though they're pre-qualified and pre-approved, they still have to apply for a mortgage. Okay, and that's going to be another process where it's going to go in front of the underwriter. That's the bank's decision maker, final decision maker. They're the ones that put the final stamp on the approval. And that underwriter, when they look at the file and they look at all the information, they're going to say, yep, 850 credit score, income is good, all this is good on paper. Now we just have to wait for the independent, keyword independent, appraisal to come back. They order an appraisal. They don't send out their buddy anymore. You know, that stuff got, us in trouble in the late 2000 or early 2000s, right? They have to order an independent appraisal. Now that appraiser is going to look at the same information that you and I are about to look at right now. I can't fudge the numbers. This is the market data. Same data that appraiser is going to do. What I don't want to see is, I don't want us to make a mistake. This is where I'm painting a picture of fear here, and overprice the house, so to the point where we attract the buyer, but we can't get across the finish line. Okay? I don't want to have to come back to you 3 weeks from now and say, hey, remember I got you $50,000 over the number that you wanted? And those buyers were willing to pay, and great buyers? Yeah, they were pre-approved. Yeah, they were pre-approved. But unfortunately, when the bank appraiser went out, it didn't appraise. Okay, it only appraised at 510, and the buyer does not want to come out of pocket with an extra 40 grand because they feel like they're overpaying. Now, that's another strategy we can get into and talk about appraisal gaps, because that's been important in the last few years. But for today's training, you have to paint that picture that we don't have final say of the price. There's another person there called a bank appraiser that's going to share that information with the bank, and if it doesn't appraise, the bank is not going to approve that mortgage. Would you guys agree with that? Tie it back. There's a contingency in every contract that the buyer does not have to buy the property if they don't get approved for their mortgage. So even though they were pre-approved, if they don't get approved for that mortgage, what happen is we'll end up at market value, right? Whether we price low and get bidding war up, which is ideal, or if we price too high and we have to come down over time, we're going to end up at market value. And that's the amount of money that the market's willing to pay for your property. It's not all those other things we talked about. So having that conversation ahead of time and getting them in the right frame of mind before you even look at the comps is just as equally as important as the comps themselves. Because you can have the best comps and everything that works in your favor and where you think it is, and they could say, nope, I want 40 grand, 50 grand, I want this much more because of the emotional, or they're competitive with their neighbors, or they're hearing other things. And is there other realtors that will come in right after you and tell them, oh yeah, I'll get you that price? That's called buying a listing. We don't want to buy your listing. We actually want to sell your property. I can tell you you're going to get this much for your house right here. And then over time, with data, lower your price, lower your price, lower your price, lower your price until we get into an undesirable number. Or I can start you off typically around market value or just shy of market value right here. And what's going to happen? In this market where inventory is low and demand is high, you're going to get the higher part of the spear. And this is what this illustrates right here. If you're 12% too high, you're only going to get drive-bys. The market's going to tell you whether your price is too high. If you go on with great photos and great marketing and you're not getting any showings, you're too high, right? If you're getting drive-ups and just a low showing account, I always say it takes about 8 showings on average for an offer. If you're only getting 2 showings in the first week, 3 showings in the first week in this market, and you can show them with the showing time data how many showings are in the market in the different price bands the last 30, 60, 90 days, right? If you're not matching what's going on in the rest of the market, it's the market telling you your price too high, okay? But if you're priced right, that's where the offers are coming in. And you're going to have a seller say, we priced it too low. We got 17 offers. You know what I call that?
Excellent, Laura.
I call that a good problem to have. Because now you have your choice. Can we counter? Sure. We could always counter. In a multiple offer situation, if the highest number that you get in a multiple offer situation is 525 and the seller really wants 535, can we counter back at 535? Worst they could say is no. But at that point, you have options. I'd rather be sitting in a situation where we have options versus just being angry and frustrated waiting for the market to respond to your number. So why don't we just follow the strategy here and look at the data, and based on the data, look at what your competition is, look at what's sold, look at what the bank appraiser is going to have access to. You recap all this information, and let's come up with a strategic price that makes sense. Questions? I think we're good on pricing. Makes sense? All right.
All right, one thing I forgot. When you guys do mailings, you're going to get hate mail. You're going to get hate mail. So every mailing, pretty much without fail, I'll get someone just say, please remove it from your mailing list, return to sender, you're a tree killer, you should be ashamed of yourself. Christine Serafini had one, I hate your hairdo, what brush you use, right, Christine? Just all kinds of stuff you will get. People have time for, I don't know. I don't know where they get the time. But keep mailing. That means you're doing the right thing. If you start getting this, you're on the right track. Okay? No, seriously, because I've had agents that have stopped because 1 or 2 people in the neighborhood said, I don't want to get mailers, and you're killing trees and you wasted paper. and stopped mailing the whole neighborhood because of 2 people. And as a result of that, lost business. So do not do that. All right, any questions from today's boot camp?
Just
Marissa.
on that, it kind of goes with the story that Brian tells about the photo he posted on being on a boat in Florida, and this lady like sent this like hate message about it, and then a couple months later was like, I'm so sorry, I was going through a divorce and I had a bad, like, what people think say and do have nothing to do with our mailers.
Right.
It's how it's what they're going
Yeah,
through,
it's
and I think
personal.
we need to-
Yeah. Any questions on today at all? Any questions, mailing, any of the stuff that we went over on marketing? Yes.
You mentioned you had a big list, which was good, of everything when you're going to list. There's like 14 or 19 things.
Uh-huh.
I think number 5 was the 50 things you're going to do for them.
50 things?
Yeah, I thought it was 50 things.
Where is that?
32 things.
You mean the 14-step
Oh,
process?
no, it wasn't 32. It was like, I think it was 50 things for marketing. It was all the way. I'm gonna ask for a slide of that.
Yeah, yeah.
See.
We'll get-
But it was like 50 things, because you're trying to get the listing, that you're going to do, 50 marketing things, or 50, I think it was number 5 and whatever the list was,
Okay.
of what you were gonna do.
We could take a look at it and see, because I don't,
Anything realtors do to sell your home, copy, paste, send.
One thing I just wanted to quick add, like
Yeah.
when you go on a listing appointment, if they're making a decision and you're up against several agents, I always either send a thank you note immediately or flowers or a plant, just saying thank you for showing me your home. I
yeah,
appreciate the
that
opportunity.
works, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Mary, because that is true. Like anytime, I call it the money bag. I didn't use that on today. Like I said, I can go through all kinds of things, but in our regular training, I show you the money bag. I have a bank bag in there, has personal notes already done, and it's already stamped, and the return address, everything's on it with a note card. And then I just say, it was a pleasure taking a look at your beautiful home today. Thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to working with you. Boom, that's all you got to send them and put it right in the mail. That I can't tell. I mean, that has made a big difference too. And that, again, just Buffini 101, we learned that a long time ago. And people have said, you're the only one that sent me a note. Really liked your note. Or I've had the other spouse say, she or he really, liked that. So you just never know. You just never know. Same thing with getting expires and FSBOs. One of the ways to go after them, just write a personal note. And this is big technical part here. Please call me in regards to your home. Sincerely, Willie. That's it, my business card. Just send it out to them, and they're going to call you, because curiosity kills the cat. Don't go putting all, I see it's expired, and I can really do this, and I'm integrity, I'm this and that. They don't care. But have them call you, and then when they call you, say, hey, I just wanted to reach out to you. Thank you for calling me. See your house is on the market. What's your plan? Are you still looking to sell that? Are you looking to buy something else? Maybe you could help them on the buy side, and then they'll be open with you and tell you, right? But personal notes work great, so definitely use those. Any other questions? Okay. You guys like today's boot camp?
Do a quick photo real quick. Go to the back more.